the Seahawkers podcast, week 2 Pick'em Show. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me all the way from Connecticut, my good buddy Clinton Bonner.
What's going on, Adam? The picks on the East Coast, they're different. It's a little East Coast, West Coast rivalry. I'm fired up for it, and bringing some picks to the flock. What could be better? I love it.
I feel like you just called me Adam.
I definitely did. Should definitely keep that in. And I should get a jersey with your number but his name. I feel
there
like.
You go. That'd be fun. Well, it's funny you mention Adam because he's normally this is coming out on Thursday, the day we normally release the show, but we don't have Adam this week for picks or the regular show to record on Wednesday, and Adam's on a rare midweek job, and apart from that, it's usually the second Wednesday of the month that's a tough day for me to record as well with my work schedule. So, we're putting out this pick show in lieu of our regular show. It's just going to be a day delayed, most likely, if things go well for tomorrow for our next recording time. But I wanted to put this out because, one, this is your last chance to get into the picks and have a great chance to be among the top prize winners, because we're dropping the worst score out of all the weeks. And so that means if you start in week 2, then obviously you're 0 for week 1. That goes away, and you're just going to be in it for the prizes. So it's your chance to still get in the picks. I opened up a 4th Yahoo group. All you have to do is go to Seahawkerspodcast.com/pick'em. You'll find the post to the current Yahoo group to get into. You'll also find the standings for all of the groups together into one spreadsheet, and that's how we're doing it this year, because we have to spread it out over a couple different groups. And I think it's going to be good in the long run because people are realizing some of the challenges. We have some members of the flock who are developers, and they go, "Oh, you know what? I bet we could make something like a good pick'em. What would you call that application?" For another year,
maybe a script, a little script. You could code a little script, and it will do the running for you. But I do apologize for calling you Adam there. Especially, everybody should know that we're on an interface where your name is literally on the screen, like it's just right there.
You can just read it. You can just read it.
Yeah, you just got to. Yeah, I did the reverse Ron Burgundy on you, so I just didn't read it. But I do have a question, and everybody in the flock, and just the folks who listen to the pod, you should get involved. That the prizes are always amazing. But I do have a question.
Yeah.
Since Adam has work this midweek, does he actually get to see the game live at the weekend, or is it just an additional baggage that he has to deal with during the week? Is he going to get to watch the Hawks live? The fans want to know.
I do not know for this week. I know that he had to watch it on a delay for the Bengals game. But I'm excited to talk to him about it because there's a couple things that happen that I'm waiting to get Adam's take on, and it just bums me out when I have to, I'm sure there's members of the flock that are saying, it bums me out when the show is not here on the right day. But it bums me out too, because I want to I have things that I want to ask him about.
You got things, and I can only imagine too that on delay, maybe we performed a little better. Maybe we won by 8 or 9 on delay, but
that's true.
It's probably true in some world. So, but cool. We'll say hello to the dude when you do talk to him next, and like every other fan of the show, looking forward to when you guys do put it out.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be out like on a Blue Friday, so a nice Blue Friday gift for everybody. So. Yes, look for the show then. In the meantime, we get to talk about some picks. We can throw in some Seahawks stuff in this too, Clinton. There's really no format to it other than the fact that we make our picks, we announce a winner, and the good thing about having gone through this process with Yahoo, and we did have one person who picked 14 games correctly, and I'm very thankful for that because it just made it so much easier for me to decide who actually won, because only one person got all 14 out of the 15 games, 16 games correct, and I'm saying 15 because one of the games dropped out because we had a tie this last week between the Lions and Cardinals.
Amazing. 14 out of 15 is incredible. And, I'm happy. I'm happy it saves you a little time, a little agita. You can just be like, okay, that's the winner, and let's move on, right? So that's a good thing. But whoever the heck that is, that's some, rub something. That's some good luck. 14 out of 15 is a pretty damn primo week.
Yes, Ithryn with the win. And I was able to send an email. I haven't heard back yet, but this week's prize, a Chris Matthews signed photo from the NFC Championship win over the Packers. And so it's a photo of Chris Matthews recovering that onside kick, has a certificate of authenticity. It's a good prize to kick off the first week of the season, I think.
That's awesome. I mean, if you're going to get a Chris Matthews prize, like that is the best possible thing you could get for that dude. That's awesome. That's a great prize. That's really cool.
Other than maybe the actual football that he recovered in that onside kick. That would be maybe the top prize. This is just one step down from that.
Fair. Fair.
All right, Clinton. Well, let's get into the picks for this week. And as I mentioned, you can go to seahawkerspodcast.com/pick'em, get in the league, check the score sheets there. We'll have the running totals. Leo's going to help me out with updating the weekly scores. So we have the full leaderboard there along with the winners for each week. And let's start with the Thursday night game. Carolina. They are playing at home against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is a significant underdog in this game. Only 3% going with the Bucs. Carolina, 97%. They're 6.5-point favorites, despite being 0-1 after that loss to the Rams.
Man, 3% going Bucs, huh? And this is just straight up picks, right? There's no line here. This is just pick it straight away, correct?
We're just picking straight up.
Dang, all right, you want to go first or shall I? What's your pleasure?
You know what? It's an easy pick for me to take Carolina at home, I think.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I'll go with Carolina too. I don't like this game at all. Thursday Night Football is pretty much trash, but yeah, but fine. Carolina. But you know also.
What? We actually, there's been some good early season ones where the teams haven't quite figured it out. You have kind of a shootout. Maybe we'll get lucky with this one.
Maybe we will. Listen, I've got Cam in one league. I've got Godwin in a different league in fantasy. So shootout it is. I'm all for a bonanza, but I'll take the Panthers at home. They should squeak something out. Jameis makes too many mistakes, so let's give it to the Panthers.
I would take it as a coin flip, though. If I were going off of points, I might go with the Bucs on this one, just because 6.5 points for a division rival early in the season on Thursday night, it could happen.
It's a lot of points.
San Francisco, they are on the road again at Cincinnati, and can they go with back-to-back wins in the East Coast time zone? And we got to see Cincinnati. They played pretty well. Will San Francisco have an easy time or a tough time? It looks like, looking at the percentages, people like San Fran in this game, 56%, but 44% going with the home team Bengals.
I'd say it's a pretty heavy Seahawkers pod, bias tilted into that, where people are just wishing their days away. I'm going Niners. I think we got the Bengals on week one, where we didn't know who the heck they were, and we're just not a good team to start the year. Typically, we finish strong, which matters more. I think the Niners got this. I think it's going to do two things. It's going to show the Niners are pretty good, and it's going to show that we really underperformed in week one and make us worry more. But I'll take the Niners in this one.
Well, I do think the 49ers should win this one, because one of the things that we found out going into that game against Cincy is we thought that, we had the guys up front to really go after that Bengals offensive line. And we saw that we didn't have that. Andy Dalton had all kinds of time. But I think with San Francisco, it's going to be a little bit different. Even though it's at home, I think San Fran's going to be able to get home to Dalton a lot more.
I think so too. And we ended up with 5 sacks anyway, right? So we did have 5 sacks in the game.
True.
But it did feel like Dalton had a lot of time back there, way too much. But yeah, I think the Niners go 2-0, unfortunately, and it's one of those things where hopefully they're not hanging around 9-7, 10-6 late in the year because these early victories. But that's the way the NFL goes. But I think they're going to win this one.
LA Chargers at Detroit. The Chargers, the favorite in this game. Detroit coming off the tie with the Arizona Cardinals, 2.5-point favorites over the Lions. And this seems like an easy pick for me to go with the Chargers, and 90% agree with that.
You know what? I'm gonna throw. There is a risk pick we have to take. Correct? That's right. Part of the rules. Part and parcel. All right. This is my risk pick right here. I'll just take it early. I think Detroit's got a good shot at home. Chargers
have some injuries.
They got injuries. They just lost Hunter Henry today. He's got something cracked in his body. One of his bones is cracked again, unfortunately for that dude. You know what? Hey, Detroit should have ran away with that game last week. Hopefully they just a little bit, got a little bit of an edge. They're coming home. Chargers are interesting, but I don't think they're top tier. And let's see if they get a little bit of a little exposed in the Detroit Rock City. I'll go with the Lions. I'm gonna toss it out there and see what we get for the risk pick.
Yeah, I haven't quite decided on my risk pick yet, so I'll have to go down this list and see when it strikes me. But at least you got yours out of the way. I think this is a good one to go with.
It just hit me. It was almost the first one. It was almost the second one, and the third one I was like, well, that's it. That's the one.
That's the one.
I didn't want to wait. I wanted it out of the way.
All right, Minnesota at Green Bay. And Green Bay favored in this game is a little bit surprising, maybe because they're at home, but 3-point favorites by Green Bay. But Minnesota looking awfully good against that Falcons team.
And I think Minnesota is a tier 1 team. The end of the year last year, when they finally got their poop in a group and decided to run Dalvin Cook, they were just a much, much better team. And then they just destroyed Atlanta last week. That was actually a joy to watch. I think they're going to beat the Packers, I don't know, pretty handily, at least by 7. So I'm taking the Vikings. I think they're a much, much better team than the Packers. And I think Dalvin Cook's going to have just another heyday, another day just going off, because I think he's one of the best backs in the league.
41% only think Minnesota's going to go with it. But you know what? I like Minnesota in this one too. I think they are the team to beat in the North, and it is early to tell. Green Bay could pull this one out. It feels like a coin flip game to me, but I just, Green Bay Green Bay didn't really convince me of much in that win over the Bears to start off the season.
No, they were as convincing as we were. So, which was not. But I mean, if you're feeling it's a coin flip, Vegas agrees with you, right? It's 3 points at home. That's basically Vegas saying toss a coin. So, go what you got, I'd say.
Well, another coin flip is Indianapolis at Tennessee, and Tennessee a 3-point favorite at home. But after the performance last week that Tennessee had, 86% going with the Titans, and then only 14% going with Jacoby Brissett and the Colts. It was a pretty convincing win by Tennessee, and I'm going to pick them. But again, this one also feels like a coin flip game to me. This was one that I did consider for a risk pick, just as I was listening to you talk and going through some of these.
This is why I listened to my Heartlight earlier, Brandon. So, but I think for me, this one's tough. Indianapolis overperformed, but so did Tennessee. Tennessee came in and blew out a team that was just talking way too much smack all year. By the way, Odell, come on, dude, you're wearing a $350K watch on the field. Just get a life. I just can't stand that stuff anymore. I think because I'm older. I think I'm channeling my inner Adam right now about stuff like that. But no, I'm going Tennessee. I like the home team here. They pound the ball. Henry and Lewis and Mariota, good enough. I'll take the Titans at home and close one, because I can't see it being a blowout. But I think Titans get by somehow, some way, because every freaking year they somehow, some way go 10-6, and this is the kind of game they win.
Well, you talk about the Titans pounding the ball. It was the Colts with 203 rushing yards in that opener, and that's good for number 2 in the league right now. But right in the middle of the pack for points. This I do think it's going to be just each team trying to run the ball, and I'm going to that home team just makes sense to me. So. Sticking with Tennessee and moving on to, now this is going to be a fun one, New England going down to Miami, where they always tend to struggle.
They do struggle. They do. They throw farts down there. It's like, what are you doing? I think they just party too much or something like that. But Brady barely parties, so it makes no sense. But yeah, man, this. But anyway, I think it's your turn. I think I interjected yeah. Anyway, your turn.
The Patriots are 19-point favorites in this game. I would absolutely take the points in this situation, but I think that a part of this is because Miami just got destroyed so badly by Baltimore, and so more of the same expected apparently on the betting line. But the New England always ends up going down there, playing it close early in the season, only 2% going with Miami. I'm taking New England. Yeah. But it would not shock me to see it happen again, because it seems to happen every time.
Yeah, I mean some miraculous play one way or another, and the Finns stay close with this team. And it is true, like Brady just has these weird games down there where, I mean, maybe it's a little bit hot, but geez, and he ends up with these like 212-yard, one touchdown, two interception games against the Dolphins, like year in year out. Very, very bizarre. With all that said, if it was a money line, I take the points and run, but it ain't. So I'll take the Pats to win a closer game than expected, but still win this game.
Buffalo favored going on the road against the New York Giants. 1.5-point favorites, but looking at the Pick'em League, that it looks like 59% of people are going with the home team Giants against the Bills. So interesting that the line is favoring Buffalo, but not so much for the people watching the games. And gosh, after the Giants got beat by the Cowboys, Buffalo played the Jets tough. I think I have to go with the Bills.
I'll take the G-Men to win this at home, with the hope or the caveat, the asterisk, or one of those that makes sense, that Daniel Jones gets in the game by the second quarter, because he's just, I mean, no offense to Eli, he's won 2 Super Bowls, he's done his thing. Daniel Jones is a much better quarterback at this point of their lives. Like, just play the dude. What, I mean, Giants, why in the world would you not just play the dude who clearly balled out in the preseason and let him win or lose, but go get experience? Either way, taking them, and I think they're going to have Daniel Jones in this game at some point, and somehow, some way, he pulls out a victory.
All right, moving on to the matchup between our Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Clinton. And Pittsburgh favored by 4 points in this game, but coin flip kind of among pick'em users, 56% going with the Steelers, 44% going with the Seahawks. Dude, obviously.
Do they know the rules that you don't give points for this? Like, I mean, are they listening on the podcast when you tell them that you're not going to award them?
Well, this is Yahoo Pick'em users as a whole. So this is not just our members of the flock that are going this way.
See here, this whole time I thought you were like scouring through the database and the sheets and the Excel and coming up with this on the fly. And I was very impressed. Now that I know it's just Yahoo, I'm still impressed, but just less. That's all, just less. But okay, so most people are going Pittsburgh across the nation, is what you're saying, across the globe.
Yes, and it kind of makes sense, because I don't know if you've watched the Seahawks much since in the Pete Carroll era, but they don't do very well in September. And I went down and actually looked, and outside of the Super Bowl winning season in 2013, they've won 1 game in September on the road.
Jeez Louise. I mean, you got to figure some seasons it was 3 games, some seasons it was 1 game, right? And some mix of probably averaging out of 2. Man, 1 game since then. With all that said,
one road game in September, and it was a road game against the Cardinals. I think maybe it was just last year they got that win.
Yeah, they were not a very good team last year. So, but hey, we'll take we're on a trend. Then that means we're on the up and up, I believe.
We need to balance this out.
I agree, fully agree. I mean, obviously we know where we're going, but I did talk about this a bit on the 3 in 3 out, podcast this week. And to me, it was all just about like, hey, the Patriots, yes, a differently dynamic team than Seattle, just laid the perfect blueprint on how to expose this freaking defense that Pittsburgh is not who they once were on defense. And I realized the Patriots pick people apart. But can we do a little bit of that? Can we be as fast as the Pats were and just get out to a good start? Now, I'm a logical dude and I watch a lot of Seahawks football. We probably won't, just because it's head scratching. But with all that, you know where my heart's at. You know what I'm picking. I'm picking the Seahawks because A, have to, and B, I think we're going to win this game.
Nice. Yeah. Well, definitely, I'm excited about the fact that the Pittsburgh only put up 3 points last week, but you have to expect they're going to bounce back in their first week, being at home. Yeah. And gosh, I think they freeze up against New England. That's the only way I can make sense of it at this point.
They've been owned for like 15 years now, like almost 20 years, going back to like the Cordell Stewart days where they were still owned by the Patriots. So, yeah, I do agree that there's something that gets cast over them when they play that team. And I do expect Pittsburgh to be a lot better and put up points, but I also think Seattle's going to put up some, points. I expect something like a 29-24 range where Seattle pulls it out and looks a lot better offensively. But we shall see. Hopefully it's not the third quarter where we're crying because we have like 2 first downs, but this is what we have to deal with. We're Seahawks fans.
It's true. I feel like we know what we're dealing with at this point.
We do.
Dallas at Washington as we're still in the morning games. And here it is. Here's my risk pick. 94% going with the Cowboys, only 6% going with Washington. But Washington, they got up to that early lead against the Eagles. And I think Case Keenum, he's showing that he still knows what to do. And I just think that the Cowboys are going to be reading their press clippings all week, thinking that they're going to the Super Bowl. And they go into Washington, get smacked down, and kind of come out with the tail between their legs. So that's why I'm going with the Skins.
I like the risk pick, and I like the way they played last week for at least 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think Dallas is a much superior team and goes into DC. We know this is never easy. You're a division rival, and you're traveling to the other guy's stadium, and that's never an easy get. But I think from a class perspective, Dallas is quite a bit better. I think the Redskins will hang tough. I think I do, but I think Dallas gets the W on the road, and end of the day, it's all that matters to them. So, and for this pick, that's all that matters. So Dallas with the W.
If I didn't need the risk pick, Clinton, if I didn't need it, I would definitely lean on Dallas here. But when Washington's the home team, when it's a division game early in the season, those are the ones that I really like to try and hit on the risk picks.
I do like it. I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be shocked if the Redskins pull out some 21-20 and Dak comes back down to earth. And then everybody's like, see, I told you Dak's not that good after the 5-touchdown game versus the Giants. Wouldn't be surprised. But I still think Cowboys somehow squeak one out.
Moving on to Arizona, going to Baltimore. And hopefully our division rival will be getting their first loss against the Ravens. And I think we kind of expected the Ravens to be number one in rushing yards after the first week, 265 yards that they put up against the Dolphins, but they also put up 379 yards passing and 644 yards overall against that Dolphins team, and an impressive, what was it, 59-10 win over the Dolphins? Holy smokes.
Yards don't matter, but 59 points certainly matters, right? That's
well, when you're busy scoring 59 points, the yards are going to come.
Correct. Yeah, if you scored that many, just chances are you got yards just innately, as it were, right? So yeah, interesting. I think this is probably from just a pure fan perspective, watching Jackson and Murray for the first time in their careers go at it is going to be interesting. I think Murray's pretty good. I think watching parts of that game last week, I think I put it on the Slack channel that I was like, he reminds me of like 2013, 2014 Russ, where he just gets out of things that even Russ now just doesn't, let's face facts. Russ put a little weight on, right? It's a little chunky now. He still looks good. Don't get me wrong, but he's a little bit thicker. It happens to the best of us. But he's got that kind of quickness, and then Jackson just has that's who he is to start anyway. So this should be a really interesting game. I think our whole division, unfortunately, is better than we think it is. I think at the end of the year we're going to be like, wow, most of these teams were 7-9 or better, which is going to be tough. But I think the home team finds a way here. I think Baltimore's a more skilled team, and I like their backs better as well. So I'll go with the home team and take the Ravens.
Yeah, 97% going with the Ravens, and
wow.
13.5 point favorites in this game.
Holy cow! I'll go back and say with the Vegas line, give me a dude like Murray and 2 touchdowns essentially is what you're telling me.
Yep.
Man, that guy can make just any play at any time break open, and then you're up 3 touchdowns, right? And that's going to be a lot. Wow, I think this is a bit of a sucker's bet. If I was laying money, I'd take the Cardinals all day. But man, okay, yeah. So you just blew me away with that line. That's a lot of points to give a team that I think could score.
Well, after putting up 59 points against the Dolphins, I guess they're just thinking that Baltimore's going to blow everybody out of the water this year. But Arizona's not all that. I mean.
It's the Dolphin. I mean, we all know where the Dolphins are at this point. They're an XFL team, an AAFL team. The whole thing's folding down. They should do like one of those regulation things where the worst team in the league has to go to the XFL. That would be kind of cool. That'd be kind of fun. But I mean, it's the Dolphins. They're the worst team in the NFL. And yeah, Baltimore exposed them, but I don't think they're going to put up that kind of numbers again. Arizona has a pretty good defense.
Yeah, they're all right. Houston at home playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to be doing it without their quarterback, Nick Foles. which means that Houston is a heavy favorite at home, 9-point favorite, 96% going with the Texans, and I will be going with the Texans as well.
You know what? I already burnt a risk pick, and I really don't even know why. And it's probably against all better judgment, but I believe in Gary Minshew, and I believe that's how you say his name.
Gardner Minshew.
Listen, hey, Adam, you don't
just make up your own first names for everybody for the rest of the show.
Did I call him Gary? He looks.
Gary.
Do you see the picture of Gary Minshew? Look at that dude. He looks like a Gary. I mean, and that's doing no justice to Gary Shandling, but he looks like a Gary. So Gardner Minshew, I'll just call him Minshew. So the great Minshew, 22 of 25 last week. The dude was, against the KC team that has bad DBs, and we know this already. But you know what? I'm going to go with a big upset. Jaguars can control the ball. They got Fournette. I like parts of their team. I like Dede. And you know what? I'm going to go with a big upset and think the Jags somehow, some way upset the Texans and turn them into like a tizzy at an 0-2 start after a heartbreaker where they should have won the game versus Saints.
Didn't need to do it, but going with 2 risk picks anyway. An interesting strategy.
I just think they're confidence picks.
All right, then. Kansas City at Oakland. So Kansas City going on the road and 94% liking them. But Oakland, I think they surprised some people against Denver. Not a lot of people thinking that they would win that game necessarily because all the drama going on with AB. But Kansas City, big time favorites here, 7.5 points. And I got to go with Kansas City too.
Yeah, I'll go with the Chiefs as well. But man, this is the week where Vegas has road teams giving more than a touchdown or more, which is usually a disaster for usually a sucker's bet. You want to usually take those points when you're home. But again, straight up, KC's a good team.
I'm not going to pick against KC at all this season because they're probably going to go 13-3, trying to pick which 3 games they're going to lose. That's going to be pretty hard.
I agree. It's like trying to sell a stock at the exact right moment or something like that, and then you get burned because it just keeps going up anyway, right? So It's just one of those things. I'm with you. They should win this game, but I'll give Oakland credit where due. They look good. That first game versus Denver, moved the ball well. Carr was better than I thought he'd be. No Antonio Brown, and they look like a good team. And Josh Jacobs, Jacobs look like the real deal. So credit where due there. We'll see what happens. And Waller's a baller too, man. So they got a pretty good, interesting crew. With all that, I'll still take Kansas City. They should win the game, fairly easily, going away by 7 or 10 points.
This next one, not quite in risk pick territory, but pretty close, 79% going with the Chicago Bears, who are going on the road to the Denver Broncos. 2.5 point favorites for the Bears. But Clinton, you and I know, based off of what Seattle did last year going into Denver, and they didn't have the greatest team, but Denver at home for their home opener, I'm going to go with the Broncos.
I don't mind it whatsoever. I mean, we did suffer that as well. And you know what? Chicago is kind of like the way that Chicago treated week 1. It was kind of Seahawky, right? It was like watching that being like, ugh, like I know exactly what this feels like. Not especially that first, they weren't running the ball. They weren't using Montgomery, nothing downfield. The only I would say giant difference is we have a great quarterback and they have Trubisky. So we can leave that there.
Yeah.
With all that, I'm gonna go with the Bears. I think the Bears are still a better team, and I think the Broncos are a bottom third, and the Bears will find a way. Might not be pretty, but they cannot go 0-2 when they open with the Packers at home, who I do not think are that good. And then Broncos are a bottom third team. They have to find a way to win that game. Somehow, some way they will. My guess is they're going to run the ball a lot more than they did the first game.
Yeah, they got to go up against, there's some heavy hitters on that Broncos defensive line. We didn't see much of them in that game against Oakland, but you have to think they're going to bounce back at home and give some fits to Trubisky. So I definitely, it's going to be a fun one to watch, but we'll get into the third afternoon game with the LA Rams playing at home against the New Orleans Saints, a revenge game for the Saints after the NFC Championship last year. You have to think that they've had this game circled on their calendar the whole offseason. People have this game circled on their calendar because, you got Drew Brees going up against the Rams, and it's a coin flip game, 54% going with the Rams, 46 with the Saints. Rams a 2.5-point favorite in this game, so a -0.5 point at home. That means they get that the people in Vegas, they like the Saints a little bit in this game.
Yeah, they do. They like a little bit. I think it's is this my go on this one? I believe.
Let's hear it.
I taking the Rams. Doesn't feel good. Feels dirty. I don't like saying it, and I want to slap myself for how I now feel about that. But I think at home they win this game. And I think it's going to, who knows? I have no other prediction besides that. I think the Rams pull this game out. Just a gut feeling. New Orleans coming off that big hyped win at home. Great game. That was a fantastic opener for the Saints. And for some reason, I get the feeling they're going to have a bit of a letdown, and the Rams take this one and kind of just put themselves in position to say that, yeah, we're still here and we're still quite a good team. So going with the Rams.
I'm just doing this based off of going with the Rams and basing it off the fact that if they win, then I get the pick. If they lose, then I'm super happy about it. For my own personal well-being, this just seems like the right way to go.
I like that. It's a good philosophy.
Sunday night, Philly at Atlanta. Philadelphia favored in this game by just 1.5 points. Atlanta, they didn't have a great showing against the Vikings, but they're back home for their home opener on Sunday night. You got to expect a little bit more out of Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, right?
Yes, I do. I'll volley it to you as it's your turn. I'm interested to see who you might select, but yeah, I do expect at least a better show from those Falcons.
75% going with the Eagles, only 25% going with the Falcons. I'm going to take the Eagles. I like them as the favorite, and I think Atlanta, I don't think they're going to be good this year. I think a lot of people are hyping them up. I think the defense is going to have some issues this year, and they're going to get off to an 0-2 start.
Very possible. I like the home team. I like him in prime time. And, it's one of those that I don't have a specifically good reason for it either, except for the fact that they look so bad against the Vikings. They just could not at all get going. Nothing they were doing was working, and they were just getting run over by Dalvin Cook. I don't think the Eagles have a Dalvin Cook. I think Miles Sanders is an interesting rookie. I don't think much of Jordan Howard as a premier back. Sproles is still amazingly cool as a third right. Sproles is still amazingly cool as a third running back, but you know what? Give me the home team in that beautiful stadium they built and somehow, some way get back to 1-1. I think this is a very close game, but I can see this thing being like a 24-23 last second heroics, last second field goal. And the Falcons get out of there with a much needed victory.
Eagles are definitely taking that running back by committee approach. Sproles got 47 yards, Jordan Howard 44, Miles Sanders 25. So they're kind of spreading it out among those three backs. I don't feel great about this game picking the Eagles, but I think they're going to be good this year. So I'm leaning toward the Eagles being better over the long term this season than the Falcons are.
I could be completely wrong. I think Wentz is a better quarterback than the natural as it is. So I mean, I might be completely wrong at eating this one come Sunday night, but for the sake of throwing ones out there that are a little bit fun, let's see what the Falcons could do at home.
This last game on Monday night, I'm so intrigued by this matchup because Cleveland getting smashed by the Titans in their opener, and now they have to go on the road and play the New York Jets, who they were looking pretty good against. They were hanging in there with Buffalo. They lose it. They got out and then they lose it in the end. But I think the Jets do have a better team this year. But can they play disciplined football? That's the big question going into week 2.
Yeah, this is the team that just did so much talking all off season, right? And I grew up. I've said this before, different pods and stuff like that. I grew up on Long Island. My number one most hated team is the New York Jets. I just had to go. And I really no other reason. It wasn't like they won when I was growing up. They always lost. but I just have a disdain for Jets fans, although some of my best friends in the world are Jets fans. I'm going to let that bias carry over and just say the Browns get back to 1-1 somehow, and the Jets crumble to 0-2 at home when they probably should have been 2-0, and it's one of those starts where they're looking back at like week 10, week 11, and they're kind of in it, but they're like, damn, if we only had those first 2 wins like we should have had, and that's going to be sweet. So I'll take the Browns because I look forward to that future sweetness.
It's going to be tough for one of these two teams starting off 0-2, although I don't know if I was expecting the Jets to go anywhere, and Cleveland's got a pretty tough division too, so what was it? It was only the Ravens that got a win out of that division last week. So they might be all right. Either of these teams, the Jets, they aren't going to catch Brady and the Pats. But I'm leaning toward the New York Jets in this one just because of the Browns it was like 18 penalties in that opener. And I'm starting to question whether the Browns picked the right coach to stay on. If Kitchens was the right guy, maybe they should have gone. I'm not a big Greg Williams guy, but maybe that's who they should have gone with and gone with a defensive-minded coach and a guy that he seems to preach discipline more than I'm getting the sense out of Kitchens. And for that reason, until the Browns can show me they can play some disciplined football, not give up some bonehead penalties, not get kicked out of the game, talking about the left tackle for the Browns, I'm going with the Jets, and only 26% going with them, 74% going with the Browns.
This game's fun for me because like when either of those teams go 0-2, barring a tie, their seasons are off the rails immediately. And if it's the Jets, it's just fun because I have a bunch of buddies who are Jets fans. And if it's the Browns, it's just national fun. It's just fun. If they're 0-2 and they're scrambling early, it's going to be every hot button show talking about the Browns and this mix of culture and will it work and is it imploding, and all the bait clicky stuff will come out. So I'm excited that one of those teams will be 0-2, and the stories that will follow are going to make me smile.
Either way, I think as fans, either way we win with this game.
Precise. That's great.
All right, Clinton. Well, that does it for our picks with the game coming up against the Seahawks and the Steelers. Any other thoughts you want to discuss before we get on out of here?
No, not too much. I'm looking for overall for our Seahawks. I'm looking for them to run a lot more plays. This is something I talked about on the 3 and 3 Out podcast. And thank you for the opportunity to even have that. But we ran 45 offensive plays, and it's just too slow. It's like the team that in basketball only takes a shot when the shot clock is down to like 5 seconds or less every single time, and then every now and again they get a rebound and they run it all the way back down to 2 seconds on the shot clock. 45 plays is a drag. So Pittsburgh can be exposed. I do not think Pittsburgh is that good of a team. I think they're going to score, but defensively I do not think they're that strong. I am very concerned about TJ Watt, and I'm very concerned that Ifedi might give up 17.5 sacks on Sunday. And I think that's pretty accurate, unfortunately.
Yeah, Uncle Will may not be able to go, coming back from hurting his knee I think it was that collision with Britt that he hurt his knee. So that's a big bummer. Hey, now with 3 and 3 Out, one of the things you always talk about, and a good show this week. Again, appreciate you helping out and doing that on the Field Goals pod. And I wanted to ask you, though, because, Jadeveon Clowney, DK Metcalf, those kind of seem like some of the obvious, potential ins. But I want to hear from you. How about that DK Metcalf performance? I feel like we've been kind of downplaying him all offseason, and then for him to come out, 4 catches, 89 yards. I really like the number. I really like the fact that he's in the Steve Largent jersey, answering questions afterward, the throwback. I'm starting. If there's a hype train for DK Metcalf, I think maybe I need to get on it now.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the conscious reasons I do try to choose things that are like, not the obvious ones that our people are hyped about, but internally I'm sitting there going, man, this dude showed up in a Largent jersey, right? I couldn't be happier about that. And and he's making acrobatic plays, but he's going over the top, but he's also catching slants, which I was informed the dude could only run a 9.
Yeah,
so I don't know
how is he running other routes like an actual NFL receiver?
I think within the last week or so, he learned how to run an additional route, and then he did it successfully. And when a guy tried to tackle him and he threw him off with one arm and kind of laughed at him Thanos style, I was like, dude, I kind of in love with this guy in a lot of ways. And so super hyped about it. I still have a damper on the fact that we threw 20 passes and only 2 targets to Lockett, but what more could you ask for Metcalf? Like the balls that were his way, he caught contested balls. He looked damn good, and he looks like an early just leader, because Lockett's not going to be that vocal dude. That's not who he is. He's not going to be that guy, just getting people all like a rabble rouser. He's going to do his job, be really good, be really consistent, and just be a professional. Lockett's a great professional. Metcalf is that guy where the other team could look and be like, man, I hate that dude, which is nice. When you have a guy on your team where the other side could be like, oh, that guy annoys me. Like that guy's so good. And I wish he was on my team, but since he's not, I hate him. That's the kind of, fire that I think Metcalf could bring. So I'm super excited to see him just kind of grow. And I'm really excited to see like what happens when that dude gets in the end zone or has one of those first games where he's like, 6 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, man. So you can probably tell I'm getting all jittery talking about the hype train for me is real. Definitely fired up about DK. And you know what? Let's just pour the coal in. Like why stop now? Let's just go.
One thing that really shocked me though, is going and seeing the game live was how many people are rocking the DK Metcalf jersey already. That would surprise me a little bit.
That's awesome. That along with the 91 Clownies, I'm sure you probably saw a few of those, right?
I didn't, but I do feel bad for those people who got the 91 Clowny and then showed up to the game and they're like, wait, he's 90 now?
I feel like if you went through like NFL.com or something like that, even Fanatics, like you should get a discount. And then anywhere else, like it's like, well, too bad. It's coming from it's coming from other ports, and you're 91. What are you going to do?
You're probably within the week, the return period, like the return grace period, I think.
I'd imagine so. There's got to be some something for that, right? To give back. But that's really cool. That's super cool to see I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited for that. And to see, I'll have my eye out for it as well. But yeah, I think the fan base has really embraced Metcalf. Now, one thing I really would like to see this game is I'd like to see us, I don't know, like have 5 receivers and have that 5th receiver available be John Ursua. And I mean, Brown didn't do, he wasn't even targeted, right? He didn't get a target.
No.
So I mean, I just rather see Ursua out there. I'm not a big Brown dude. I think he's okay. In fact, when they cut him, I didn't think he was coming back, and I was okay with that because I was convinced it would mean more time early for Ursua. I just hope they have 5 wide receivers ready, and he's the 5th guy. I have no indication of what's going on so far. I don't know if you do, if you've seen anything about that yet, but that would be interesting to me. Is will Ursua suit up? And if he does, will he get in the ball game? Because I think he's a difference maker.
I do think he will be suiting up because I think the injuries are, well, and I think at the very least they'll suit up 5 receivers, whether it's Ursua, whether it's Jennings that gets that 5th spot. But I think with the injuries, it's probably going to mean an extra spot because you heard Pete Carroll talking about after the game, he was asked about, why only 4 receivers suiting up, but he wanted all of those linebackers to be available on special teams. And he places such an importance on special teams. It makes sense to me. And then when you see Brown not even targeted in the game, you go, oh, well, maybe they only even needed to suit up 3 wide receivers. Shoot.
Yeah, at that point, because we only throw the ball 20 times anyway. So,
So we will see. Hopefully, you need Ursua to get out there because you predicted like 40 catches for the dude, and he's already at 0 at 1 weekend. So now he's got to step it up.
You bet it's a lot like the Pick'em League. You just toss the worst week out, and then you put the other one. I guess it doesn't work that way, being cumulative. But yeah, I'm still going to hold on hope that dude's going to be cracking 40 to 50 receptions, because I do think that if he gets in, he'll be very effective. We shall see. I could, of course, I can be wrong about that, but I think that guy has a lot to offer this team, and I think he's going to be big for us this year.
All right, Clinton. Well, appreciate you coming on, joining the show, filling in for Adam, for calling me Adam.
Sure.
It works. Adam was here in spirit. And
He was.
I think with that, Clinton, there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.